The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the host/guest and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any of BXR entities and those they represent.
Hello, world. How are you? It's me, Nate, host of this old Artist Exchange radio show. I'm tired. It is definitely one of those days. I had mixed up the schedule, and I thought this week was next week because we're not here next week. Our guest for the day will come the following Friday, and it'll all work itself out. Just a couple things going on right now. We're still preparing for Baltimore Fashion Week. I'll be opening up that week, I believe, with the first event, the Emerging Artist Showcase. And that'll be August the 15th. If you go to the Artist Exchange page after the show, it should be on there and also on our Instagram. If you go to Bash Top Blue Jewelry on Studio on Instagram, you'll see the link. And then I'm gonna be posting this evening as well for that. What's happening this week? So a continuation from last week. I want to talk a little bit about this upcoming election that we're having here in Maryland on Tuesday. I also want to talk about what I foresee as the state of our schools as it pertains to programming and the switching of principals and the closing of schools. I also want to speak a little bit about the statement that our mayor here in Baltimore made about the Squeegee kids, which was a little encouraging, but it also, that statement, and he didn't say this particularly, but he made a comment. He understands why they're out there, but he should serve as an example of why they don't have to be out there. And I don't see him doing photo ops or going out and meeting these Squeegee kids. So how would they know who you are other than the Afro mayor? But we'll talk a little bit about that. I also want to talk about one, our mental health as it pertains to how it's affecting our physical health. And I'll tell you why that's a topic. And then I want to talk a little bit about the state of our children, separate from the Squeegee boys, and men, because not all of them are boys. But your children often open up to people that are not you more than they open up to you. I'm working at it's more like a workforce development internship with some high school students this summer, and we're making jewelry, and as it pertains to them becoming a business. So we're teaching them business by way of jewelry design. And some of them are really talented, and I think we'll think about making it a business soon. We have a final closing on August the 5th, and I'll share that out as well, so that the public can actually come to that and see their work and such. I want to kind of close out where we left off last week when I was speaking about how we do business with each other and how we communicate with each other or lack thereof. And I am not necessarily a feeling type of person, but my emotions are starting to get tied up. Well, at one point, my emotions were getting tied up in just the lack of communication between people because um, not that it upset me at all, but more so it's a little frustrating to see people actively speak out against each other. I'm not a gossiping person. Um, and I've learned that even my conversations about people, I can't, that's not me because that turns into gossip the more you do it. And I don't like putting a bad mouth on anybody, even if somebody's done me wrong. Many of my friends really get on me for not matching energy, but I don't want to be that person. I'm just not that because I don't care enough to be that person. I'll be real honest with you. But I'm noticing how and what people do to get ahead, and they will cut their own people off just to make it out of whatever situation they find themselves in. And I feel like karma is brutal on individuals who knowingly um, create dissension, are sneaking, conniving, um, and just two-faced for no reason. Like if you go be about your business, be about your business. Leave other people's business alone. Keep your mouth off of people. If somebody else is bringing you that information, cut them off. And I know it's easily said than done because many people, that's how they think they get ahead, or that's how they think they fall in the grace of people with a little bit of money. But people are watching you. And if you'll sit up and talk about somebody that's that you are close to, or they're sizing you up and realizing, I'm gonna let this person get but this far with me because I have to always watch them. They're never gonna trust you because you're sitting up talking to them about somebody who's probably knows you more than they do. So just know that people are watching that and people are very observant of that. And it does not serve anybody when we do that. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and comment on either platform you may find this in, YouTube, Facebook, so on and so forth. Let me know what you think. Um, yeah, that is an interesting thing because I'm seeing it in many different spaces, and it's just for nothing. Like people are really miserable in this world, and they'll do things to feel taller than or bigger than, just to they'll do those things just to feel a little bit taller or more significant in the space. But I'm learning how to just make people invisible and just stay away from negativity and individuals who kind of breed that atmosphere. I'm a person who um, I work I work hard. Um, I'm consistent in the things that I want to do, and I'm even more consistent and dedicated in the pursuits that I see fit. Because can you not hear me? What happened? I can't hear you.
I know. I'm laughing at comments.
Somebody
Riga,
comment?
Riga said, "Put the shades back on so we can tell that you're not sleepy."
First of all, I don't mind doing that. Thank you. I hate when celebrities jump into conversations. She must be backstage in her green room somewhere. Um, I'll put my new shades on. I just bought from the vendor. Thank you. How they look? Thank you. But yeah, so I'm just learning how to just deal with individuals that may not be at their best. Another lesson that I learned this week is forgiveness, forgiveness, and just the value of family. Often and I know a lot of people are busy. I try to stay as busy as I can. I don't like doing nothing, so I try to stay busy. But this week, um, I had to watch my sister be in the hospital for what I suspect is something that was brought on by stress. Um, Me and my sister are in many ways alike, and that's one of the ways that we are very similar because we keep a lot of stuff inside. And I'm learning now how important it is to let things out, even when you're frustrated or when you're not pleased or anything. Let it out, and constructively let it out in appropriate times, in appropriate places, to the appropriate people. Let it out, and don't let it be bottled up inside of you. And I'm not a doctor or anything, but I just know, you know, our physical selves can often be a reflection of our mental selves. When we are stressed or depressed, that opens our body up to all types of illnesses and sickness because it kind of weakens our immune system. When you are under stress or you under a lot of pressure, it's easily, you can easily open yourself up to getting sick. You'll probably get sick faster. And a lot of the things that I'm seeing young people as early as 25 to 27 dealing with strokes and heart attacks and heart disease and just curable and manageable illnesses that get out of hand because our life is so hectic. Everybody chasing a bag. Everybody's um, pushing and pushing and pushing and not taking the time to really deal with self. And it's hard. It's hard for me as I'm getting older to see what damage I've done to my body due to not managing stress appropriately. And it's very sad to see. It was very sad to go to the hospital and see her in the hospital um, like that. And I'm sure it's due to stress. She's been a nurse throughout this whole pandemic and never complained. I never saw a post from her where she was stressed. And I just personally know her enough to know that she keeps a lot inside. So I'm really appreciative of all the people who DM me to check in on her throughout this week since I made the post. All the people who left prayers on the post that I made. I believe she responded to that if you liked it or said a prayer. So I really appreciate it. And you don't realize how many people support you until things like this happen. And it's unfortunate that that's the time where we are most collective when someone's life is in a balance. But that's human nature. I wish we would do that more and give people that support and those flowers throughout their life, not just when they down bad. Um, but again, that's our nature, and that's unfortunately that's our nature. And I am changing me, and I'm changing how I interact with people and engage with people, and how I treat people, and how I allow people to treat me. Not just I was reading a book by Yola, and one of the things that she said was, "You can't tell somebody how to treat you. You can only determine whether or not you will stay in their presence while they're treating you that way. And if somebody's not treating you well, move on. Don't go back. Don't feel tempted to text or call or check up. Separate yourself and really, if it's meant to be, if you will find a way to bridge that hurt or damage and repair it and move forward. But it doesn't mean you need to go back to where you were. A valuable lesson that I'm learning. And just showing up as myself is my most important lesson as I get closer to 40. It's very valuable to me to be my most authentic self. And for me, it was more so, I never like to, well, I'll say it this way. I used to shrink myself or diminish the value of myself and the greatness in who I am, because I didn't want anybody else to feel bad about themselves. And I had a lot of people around me that was comfortable with me shrinking myself. So I had to clear everyone off. And I'm kind of in the process of reevaluating who I want in my life and who I don't want in my life. And you have that right, and you have that power over your life. You can't determine what anybody else does, but you can determine whether or not you want to stay around while they're doing what they do. So uh, maintain your mental health. If you know there's a lot going on, it may set you back a little bit to focus on you mentally, but I would say it is more of an investment in the things you want, the life you want, the person you want to become, and healing in general. When you take that time to do some mental check-ins and you're making sure that you are good and you are doing the things in life that you want to do. I'm really I am satisfied in my life right now, despite whatever storm or struggles that may be happening. I'm really pleased with myself because I have not lashed out or got angry at injustifiably, but I have maintained my calm and my peace. Most importantly, my peace, and it is what I lean on the most in these times, in this moment of my life. I'm kind of coming out of what I self-titled my selfish stage, and I'm really focusing on, building relationships, repairing relationships. But I will not go back to things that hurt me or sought to hurt me. And I'm good with that. And if that affects somebody or it makes someone upset or uncomfortable or frustrated with me, I can't do anything about your emotion. That's something that you need to figure out, and you need to do the work that is required for you to kind of balance out and stop blaming people for every finger. And one of the things I almost on a daily basis, I'm telling this to my students, every finger you pointing at someone, blaming them or accusing them or whatever, is three fingers pointing back at you. And you have three times the responsibility that individual have in terms of how you respond, how what they saying or doing is affecting you, them being in your presence altogether. So really, really focus on mental health and getting as balanced. There's no such thing as perfection, but you can strive for balance. And trying to achieve that balance is going to be a little bit difficult. It's going to be a little hectic when it comes to making decisions that you aren't typically used to making. But a lot of those decisions is to keep your cup full and running over. And everything that pours out into that sauce is what you then have to give to others. But maintain your full cup. It is an old saying, if you're in a plane crash, well, if the plane is going down, and the little thing comes down, the little suction cup comes down, breathing thing, you should put it on yourself first, and then look around you and see who you can save. And that's a very valuable lesson that I took advantage of when I was younger, and it means and has so much more value to me in this moment because I'm learning to make sure I'm good. Because if I'm not good and I'm trying to still give of myself, it really allows me the space to be able to take the time to make sure I'm good and repair myself and fill myself back up. And then I can go out and help the world. Because other than that, I'm just running on fumes, and the quality of what I'm giving you in my support, in my help, is not nearly as good as it could be if I took time out for me. I wanted to touch briefly, that's my little soapbox on mental health. I do have a therapist lined up for August, and I'm hoping that they can come throughout the month because I wanted to create a bunch of topics surrounding mental health as I'm going on a different journey in my life. I've been saying for over a year now, or 2 years rather, that I want to focus on my book and really finishing that. And I put that project down during the pandemic so I could repair a lot of stuff and heal from a lot of stuff and just get through. Sometimes you just got to get through to the other side of situations that you're in so you can be a better balanced person and you'll give more quality everything uh, to yourself. And yeah, so that's one of the next journeys of my life outside of me just jumping out of there creatively and doing some projects. I had a meeting today, and I'll be having a few more in the next couple of weeks with a few individuals, and we'll be. I'm getting back to directing in person and doing some productions, and I'm kind of assembling a team of people to be able to go forth and do that with. And I'm really, I'm just in a space of being satisfied and grateful. Um, and sometimes gratefulness comes in the midst of a terrible storm. You know, the last thing I ever want to hear via phone or any information somebody's giving me that somebody I know is in a hospital or sick or not doing well. So my niece calling me to tell me that my sister was in the hospital was a blow, but I realized how far I had come in my balanced life, that it affected me emotionally, but it did not stop me creatively, business wise. Bad news used to stop me in my tracks, and now I'm able to move forward with it. And I always had a good face, but I'm good inside and out now. I'm not just, giving you, a shell, but I'm actually as good on the inside as I am, as I'm moving through, as I'm healing, as I'm growing, and I'm still getting growing pains, so on and so forth. But I have a better balance with that. And I have a few guests that I'm bringing on the therapeutic side that will kind of give some insight into where I'm at and what is possible. Because I'm still learning myself, but as far as I've come with managing my emotions and actually being able to express them without worrying about how it's going to make somebody else feel or something like that. But I've come a long way. Um, and I'm just grateful for the people that stuck around, the people who are in my space right now, the people who um, are there. And being there doesn't always mean we're hanging out all the time, but just there. You know, if I post something, say like I did for my sister, I saw the people who I don't get to see all the time, say kind words. And many of them didn't even know her. I don't talk a lot about my family to people anymore. Um, so a lot of the people didn't even know her, but just the kindness of strangers sometimes is a remarkable thing to witness. And it was very much so a positive thing. And it was directed towards my sister, but I got a lot of encouragement out of it. Also, just to see how people share kindness. But I wish we could do that all the time, not just in those moments where it's needed, but as maintenance along the way. So when those things happen, we're already in a posture of giving flowers and, spreading love and encouragement and praying for each other, whatever prayer may look like for you. So yeah, I want to now transition, speaking of praying for people, to the upcoming election. Um, Monty, I know you already voted. Um, what do you see the outcome of this election here looking like compared to some of the other places in the country that have seen some crazy turnouts? He probably get on camera today because he got his hair done. So
No, my apologies. My phone is ringing at the same time, so I was going to answer it, but then you called me on. um, as far as this election, I don't know because I don't know what people want.
I'm just not. I'm seeing a lot of people that I don't want to choose from.
Because apparently, it's still a lot of confusion on what people think politicians do. And that's because of lack of education.
I
I
think
mean, we have
certain
to admit that it's
politicians.
because of lack of education. I don't understand why the school system does not train or teach about what the particulars are of a job as a politician. I think that's something that's missed.
I got a little bit in U.S. history.
But that's you.
And we took a
I'm not even
civics.
talking about U.S. history. U.S. history is one thing. I'm talking about in your local town. We don't get the education on what the mayor does. We don't get the education on what a controller is. We
That
don't get
used
the
to be
education on what.
like, and I maybe because I went to a private school, I had a civics class, so maybe that class needs to be reinstated throughout school.
But expounded on, because civics teach you about the top level of government, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. That's what that teaches you on. And then citizenship. That's what that teaches you on. It doesn't teach you about the local politician level. You don't learn anything about that until you're actually out of school.
See, and that was different for me because my civics class went throughout the gambit. So I knew a lot of, like, I knew how the president was, the people who picked the president, I knew that came at the local level. So I knew a lot of those things. I'm saying that needs to be brought back and maybe to the public schools so people do have a better understanding of what people is. Because because
no one knows what the state's attorney does, apparently. The word attorney doesn't mean anything to people. They just want what they want when they want it. And when they say that, they mean like they want the state's attorney to be out there fighting crime. That's not the term. It's an attorney. It's not the job. Everything an attorney does is after the fact. An attorney does stuff after the fact. It's not before. It's not during. It's after.
Right, and there's a misunderstanding of her job title in terms of how she relates to the police department.
Mm-hmm.
They're all criminal justice. If that's what people think, they're all under that umbrella.
But they all have different jobs,
and they're totally different sections of that company that they meet at points. But like Marilyn Mosby would talk more to detectives than she would to the mayor or city councilman or and I think they have a natural relationship with each other because they have to cross paths a lot.
But when it comes to fighting crime,
she's not creating bills or laws or anything.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. When it comes to fighting crime, you should more so look at your councilman and your mayor towards fighting crime, not at your state's attorney. Your state's attorney is prosecuting the crime that has already been committed.
Right.
That's not her job to make your crime rate go down.
But what I would say, she has done a better job, more so than any other state's attorney that I can remember, with putting her business in the prevention. She's done a lot of preventative things, like
you're talking about creating programs that associate
programs, and activities for kids to do. So because a lot of these what you call it, not camps, but rec centers didn't have the hours at first. So I think she did a great job of creating programming on a weekly basis. It wasn't daily, but it was also on a weekly basis where she did a lot of programming in underutilized spaces to give them like open mics and town halls and concerts and festivals for them, for young people specifically. So I think that was a big initiative with her. I would have hoped that she did a little bit more with the Squeegee Boys, just as a representation, of government stepping in and saying, hey, we're doing this, being as though she did all that programming on the other side. But again, that's not her job. So I'm not mad at her for not going harder with that. But I would have hoped that she would have included that too, as a part of her mantle. But I agree with you. There are a lot of people who don't understand all of government, but because it is a lot of information, and they have a real old school way of dealing with it. Like, they only tell us what they think we need to know.
But that's the thing. So like I was telling you about all these postcards that I'm getting, right? These people that are running for state's attorney in particular are running on fighting crime.
Misinformation. Yeah,
right. They're running on fighting crime as if that's their job, and it's not their job. Now, if you're going to talk about fighting crime and you're saying you're going to do your prosecutorial rate is going to increase, then that's different. But when you talk about basis, you run it on the basis of saying that you're going to be fighting crime, then that's a lie.
But it's scare tactics. But they know people aren't really understanding of what her job
That's
is.
what I'm saying. And they're running on the fact that they're lying to you about what they're going to do when it comes to fighting crime when they have no dog in the race.
Because their job is more on the accountability side of law. So
exactly. Holding the people that have already committed the crime accountable.
Right.
That's different than fighting crime.
Right.
Because fighting crime ensures that you're going to fight the crime as it's happening in the moment.
It does help, but it helps. But she doesn't have the judges on her side. Most times the judges they're not even respecting of the prosecution because these are the things.
I mean, but then it all could, because it all goes to being able to prove your case. You have to be able to prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Well,
and if you can't do that, then that person that committed a crime is back on the street, and you have done nothing.
If everybody was on the same page and people weren't getting paid off and such, the job of the prosecutor would be cut and dry because we wouldn't have people paying people off or, siding with the defense every time because they have an agenda against the prosecution. Like it would not be, or if people didn't look at the lawyers all the same, it is hard to, I know her job is hard because people have the wrong messaging about what her job is. Like you said, part of her title says attorney. So she's the head attorney for the city of Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Not for the state of Maryland, just for the city of Baltimore. And that has a very specific job title where she's done a lot in trying to get cases off the books that don't make sense. Like she says she's not prosecuting any more weed charges under a certain amount because it doesn't make her job any easier because that's just a bunch of petty crimes compared to people being shot and killed or extortion or all those, things. And it's we live in a space where people create narratives about people and they don't even have any interactions with these people to even know what they do. Many of the people who you find, like that one lady, I can't even remember her name. I think she lives in Park Heights. Like all she does is sit on the internet. Like, I want to know what the rest of her life is like because all she does is sit on the internet and talks bad about Democrats while she's living in the middle of Park Heights. Like, you could do more with your life in this part of the city that you're in than sitting on there still talking about Sheila Dixon. Just like she gets a hard on for that lady. I don't know why, but she does. Oh, and mostly Democrats and definitely our state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby. Like she's the only person that I'm sure that I'm voting for. I'm not really sure about anything. Was there anything on your ballot that was strange, or it seemed like it was something that looked like they were trying to slide through?
No. It was just, like I said, my problem is the visibility. It's a lot of people that you just don't know.
Don't know. And that's been happening for the last couple of years. Well, more than the last about 5 or 6 elections. We just have this onset of people that want to run for offices. And I don't think they're on the ballot this year though. The Electoral College, they're not on the ballot this year, right?
No, that's only presidential.
So it makes it hard when all these frivolous individuals like the prostitute, the pimp, the John, whatever you call him, like him, it's like, why are you still running? Nobody trusts you, sir.
Oh, Theoru.
The root, yeah, like nobody trusts you. But they're still, and everybody's allowed to run if you're qualified to run. But it's just, I don't know what we're getting ourselves into, because I don't want people choosing between the lesser of two evils. Or I ain't choosing Mosby, so you go pick somebody over here that's not going to do any better of a job, optics wise. Because if you have a misunderstanding of what someone's job title is, you getting rid of this person and getting this person, you're going to be just as pissed. That's why we got Biden right now and not Hillary Clinton. Because you listening to propaganda versus doing your own research and realize a lot of this stuff doesn't have an origin.
I'm glad you said something about Biden, because I've been thinking about this for the past couple of days too, how people keep saying they're not getting what they expected from Biden. Well, you also are not getting what you expected from Biden, because a lot of y'all didn't do what y'all was supposed to do and take over the Senate properly.
Right.
If you would have voted correctly, then he would have had control of the Senate. Because he doesn't have control of the Senate, you're seeing more of the same. Nothing getting done. That is your fault.
Because we had control.
Accept responsibility, humans. You have to accept responsibility of yourself. You did not take control of the Senate. You have the majority, but that's not control. You need to have 60 people to have control of the Senate. You have 51. That's not enough.
And we gained people, but because we were in a deficit prior to Biden.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. You gained the majority. Good, congratulations. But as long as the filibuster rule is in place, then you don't have control of the Senate.
Right.
You have,
and that's the information that people don't have, and that's the unfortunate part, because you voted in the lesser of two evils that people say, but at the same time,
but you didn't give them no power. You voted them in with no power.
Exactly. Yeah. And those are more the local elections and the other people on the ballot when you vote for president.
Because when stuff doesn't become law and he has to do everything by executive order, what ends up happening is when the next president comes in, he can overrule everything he did.
Yeah.
Just like Biden's doing with everything Trump did. He's overruling everything he did.
Same thing Trump did with Obama. Like they just
exactly. It's just a vicious cycle. If that's why I don't understand that filibuster rule. That's crazy. Majority rules. Period.
Yeah. Well, and that's an outdated. It's an outdated process, and what needs to really happen is we need to figure out how to get those things off. Off of the process, out of the process, because it really does damage anything. Like, because you don't want me to get an abortion because you can do a filibuster, that takes away my right to get that abortion. And I think those are the things that we need to be solving, not just blaming all the Democrats because they're not tough enough. Well, you're not involved enough and you're not informed enough, because the president is only 1/3 of the whole government. And it requires the other two parts of that government. And many of those people, if not the majority of those people, are elected officials that you elect. So the judges that are crooked, the senators that's about the money, all those people are people that you keep putting in place. And this has been the first time in Baltimore City that I've never heard talk of the city council president. I haven't heard anything good, bad, and different, against, for, nothing. And his wife is getting everything. I'm not saying he needs what he needs to do, because they're working. So it's not like he can necessarily just jump out and defend her. But I haven't seen his job be put under the microscope. And
he did get some flack for that house program that he was trying to get started. I mean, that was about it, though.
But that's one thing compared to schools are still being shut down. A lot of the bills, a lot of the housing type of things. And I know that's kind of a shared responsibility with the mayor as well. But a lot of that stuff goes across the city council's desk before it even gets to the mayor. And I just haven't seen his job be put under the microscope, even because all the money issues stem from him. Remember, it started with him, but she got the blame for it. So remember, it was his. I think it was a school loan that was in default or something, or they got a lien on the house because it was some type of bill that was supposed to stem from him. Now they're husband and wife, so I'm sure they share each other's information. But she got all the blame for it, and this is cool. They don't even criticize her for standing behind her when she's doing press releases for her legal troubles and whatnot. But it's just a weird thing. You can tell we still live in a sexist world. But I'm not nervous to vote. I'm very sure. Like, I've been going through all the names and kind of doing some back checking on them. That's why the road, like, he's annoying to me. Like, I want him to just stop. He's gonna run for whatever seems to be, they against Marilyn Mosby, I'm running for state's attorney. Like, you don't know what you want to be. First you wanted to be mayor, now you want to be state's attorney. Like, what are
He gonna take any job that he can get.
Any job, any way he can get in. Has he even ever been in government?
I don't not outside of it. I think he was a prosecutor before.
So you've never even been in government.
I don't know none of them. I still don't care. I'm voting for the people that I have a track record with.
And that's most of them not on there. Most of them are new. It seems like there's a lot of new faces.
I don't have my ballot right here, but I could tell you.
Like
I voted for Anthony Brown for state's attorney, for not state's attorney, but for attorney general.
Attorney general. But he's done that job. No, he wasn't. He didn't.
No, he was lieutenant governor.
Okay. I wonder who's.
So I know him, and I know his track record and how he was helping. He tried to help the Black community a lot while he was in the governor's office, and that's one I know I voted for. All the rest of them, they was like, no, I did vote for. I'm happy to say I voted for Marilyn Mosby again because she didn't do anything wrong to me or anything else. As far as I'm concerned, her policies worked.
But don't you find it interesting? All these years she's been being reelected, she never even promoted herself or not. It was just election to be over and she was a state's attorney again.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect that that's the reason why all this stuff is coming out about that. Like, they really want to get her out of there. Because I've never seen her have to promote herself so much. She had all the lawn signs.
But if you ask somebody specifically why they want to get her out of there, they can't answer that question, or they'll say because crime is so high. What does that have to do with her?
Or I keep hearing she's a bitch or she's arrogant.
But she has to be.
She's a prosecutor.
Because you might be in front of her one day and she can't be seen being weak.
Mm-hmm. And that's not her character anyway. It doesn't appear to be
right, because again, we are her citizens. She can't appear in front of us as being weak and prosecuting us.
Yeah.
So you can't go around being nice all the time. I mean, I'm not saying that niceties is offered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's how you accept it.
I'm stuck on what you said about people just not having the information. And when I hear people speak about her, the same way they would speak about Sheila Dixon, she's very arrogant and she's a bitch, or I don't think she knows what she's doing.
Right. But you're only arrogant and a bitch when you're getting your job done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, if she was just sitting around doing nothing, then she's a great person. She does all this stuff. But no, I'm only arrogant when you don't like what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not how it works. I'm here to do a job and get the job done and then move on to the next thing.
But she came into that position being backstage. Like her coming in, remember when she came in there, the people in her office, she had to fire most of them because they were openly promoting the last person while after he lost. Like it was a travesty. Like at that point you lost, find another job or finish this one out. But she came into
Or
that
get on
office
board,
too.
right?
Right. She came, and that's what you would have to do. I remember many of them were trying to sue her, and did sue her for wrongful termination.
Mm-hmm.
And you in the state's attorney's office and don't realize this is an at-will state. So she don't even have to tell you why she fired.
Right, especially when you're working for the government.
Right. And you don't even know one of the basic laws that you're now going against right now.
But I think they knew it. They knew it. They knew they were going to lose, but they wanted to give it a try.
Her. Right. They just wanted to embarrass her. And they've been doing that. They've been trying every which way, but her T's were always crossed. And I think the only thing that they could have said, which isn't on the side of the government, it was more so like with her mortgage company, that she asked for help during the pandemic. She probably was trying to get rid of money, and that's why she bought the house, or make money.
One or the other.
Money. Right. Why else was she? Because I think she bought 2 houses, and they say one of the houses was for her family. And they were trying to make that seem like it was such against the law. Like, how many other people have bought a house for their family? And then the other house was their vacation home, aka Airbnb. Money maker. I think she was smart because prices were lower, and she took advantage of it. She had a couple extra dollars. I just can't. So I wanted to. I'm gonna get off for the. I'm gonna wait until the following week, and we can talk about it. Oh shit! Did I just close it all out? I can't see with these fucking. I'm trying to look at the screen with these fucking sunglasses on. The mayor made a statement in the Baltimore Sun. He said, "I want each and every young person involved in the Squeegee work to know that I do understand why you are out there, but I am proof that you don't have to be out there." I was very lost. I understand what he was trying to say, but I think saying that makes the problem worse because it says to people, well, see, you don't have to be out there. You can go do something with your life. I remember they were trying something when your girl was in office where they were putting them, I think they were finding them jobs at the car washes. And they were supposed to be a separate program to give them some workforce development. And I don't hear about that at all anymore. And I think it was just a pilot program, and they only selected a few young people and didn't proceed with it. Like, it didn't go on.
I know what happened. If it ran out of funding.
It ran out of funding.
The program ran out of funding. I just read something about that the other day, that they ran out of money.
And that's just unfortunate because how do I make this bigger over there? Yeah, and that was such a big push. But then you wonder why them boys still out there. Like, car washes are seasonal. They shut them down certain times of the year. So what are they supposed to do in between?
And they don't have to, because car washes, everybody still gets their car wash even in the winter.
But a lot of them are the self-washers. A lot of the ones with all the people working there, they close down certain parts of the year. I know the one near me on Howard Street, that closes down certain times of the year. And then it reopens.
Oh, you talking about Canton Car Wash?
Yeah, that big one right on Howard Street. So what are people supposed to do when, things close down? I'm sure some of them were working at some of them, and they probably laid them off in the times they were so what are people supposed to do? I really think, I think he could have took that opportunity to, extend his arm to them and welcome them in. They have a whole employment department in the city hall. So why not bring them down there? Like, go scoop them up, bring them down there, get them some suits, give them some workforce development. You can I know they got grant programs where the city doesn't have to necessarily pay out of their pockets. There are plenty, but a lot of those workforce development, the Stop One centers, they're not. All they are is providing you with a computer to search for a job. There's some programs in them, but that's really what they are. They're a empty library system. You might just go to the library and look for a job. But I don't know what do you I haven't heard anything more about the shooting. I don't think they found the young man yet.
Yes, they have.
They have?
He's been arrested and charged as an adult.
For defending himself.
Mm-hmm.
This is
And
crazy.
you know who's representing him?
Who?
I think.
Who?
The top black attorney in Baltimore.
Marilyn Mosby?
No, she's a prosecutor, so no.
That's what I'm saying. Who's the top?
A man.
A man? Lawyer?
There's only one top black a defense attorney in Baltimore.
I don't know who that is. I don't get in trouble. What the fuck I need a defense attorney for?
What's his name? His name is, I'm drawing a blank real quick. Shoot.
He don't even know his damn name.
I do know him. I actually know him very well. I grew up with his wife.
Greenberg and Betterman? Well, I don't.
Oh my gosh.
That's the lawyer.
His name is slipping my mind. Oh my God. William.
That's the only person I know. A black man?
Yes.
I don't know.
Shoot. William. Will. Why do I keep saying it's gonna come to me? Oh, here you go. Warren Brown. Damn, that was really difficult. Warren Brown.
I gotta see his face. I know the name, but I gotta see his face again.
He was Freddie Gray's attorney.
Yeah, but I gotta see his face though. I know the name, but I just gotta see his face. Cause he got like a bald head.
No, he got hair.
Well, that's not him, man. I know the name.
Yeah, no, he was charged with first-degree murder as an adult.
Oh, I see him. Yeah, with the gray beard. He got the gray beard. Yeah.
Yeah, salt and pepper.
Yeah. Okay, Lord Johnny Cochran. I haven't seen anything. Have you seen anything with the family?
No, but one of the problems that I'm having this week, and I would say it's so funny because I was just talking to Sharon about it. One of the problems that I'm having with this whole entire situation is the commentary and how I wish people just see how their commentary differs when it comes to the assailant being black and the supposed victim being white, and then how that changes when it's vice versa.
So how do we determine who the victim was?
No, I'm just saying that's why I said quote unquote victim, because
that's my question.
They're treating him as the victim. They're treating Tim Reynolds as the victim in this situation, and it wasn't self-defense. That's why he's being charged with first-degree murder and as an adult. Right, so Warren Brown is trying to get this back down to juvenile court. That's what his purpose is right now.
So him getting out the car with a bat wasn't. I mean, I understand if the gun wasn't registered, so that's illegal. That's what we go charge him with.
Yeah. So this is what they said. They said, I do believe that the shooter honestly and reasonably believed that he was in imminent or immediate danger of death or serious bodily injury.
But, however,
and then it says, okay, so Warren Brown says the boy is a small child, has no history with the criminal justice system, was in school, not a troublemaker. He was just out there trying to make some honest money. On a good day, he made $200. On a bad day, he made $90.
What the fuck?
I mean, it's kind of lucrative to be a squeegee boy.
Right.
So this is what he goes on to say: you can't get a bat and beat somebody down because they squirted water on your windshield. Which, when you take this down to the minuscule level, that is exactly what this is about. You not wanting a service, but being forced upon you. But then you got to go back to the relative fact that this is just Windex and water in most situations that you are so angry about.
Yeah.
And do you feel some kind of stupidity when you find out that they white you, because they get, I see the frustration in their faces when they actually put their arms to work trying to help you out and clean your windshield off, and then you don't give them anything. I mean, that would be disparaging. I mean, that could kind of make you feel like, oh, all right.
But the
But I
problem.
understand, and then I understand it from a driver's perspective too. I don't have any money, so I can't give it to you. So don't do the work.
Yeah. But if you drive up with animosity about, because you see them standing out there as you're pulling up to a light, but many
Or
people
being
come there,
fearful, or having that fearfulness
right?
already in your heart that these people are going to come up to you and act like they're going to assault you when that's not their intent. You know exactly what their
Right.
intent is.
And and even though there are other problems with this situation, that's my biggest problem, because this would not be as much of an issue if, like panhandling. I don't hear anybody talking about that as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because they weren't as aggressive as, and I'm not going to use the word aggressive. I'm going to use the word persistent. The Squeegee boys, a lot of them can be very persistent, and it forces you to be like, hey, just take this dollar. I don't have nothing. Don't be the window. But you driving up to them with animosity in your heart, like you're mad at them before you even get to the intersection, or pull up to the light, or stop at the light. You already mad. So that then dictates how you respond to them, calling them out their name, yelling at them. Some of them are teenagers, but still, you wouldn't want nobody to talk to your child that way. And that's the problem that I've seen from people. And even the comments, there's so much venom in them. Like you can tell, like, Miss, you came there with that attitude. That young person didn't give you that attitude. You came there with that attitude. And then you expecting for the public to jump on board. And every one of my friends, I called them out on their post when they made posts about this. Because it's ugly, because we act like we don't know what it is to be a young person and want a couple dollars and not be able to get it the way we want to get it. Like, most people in this city that's from the city know what that feels like. That's why they have a youth works. That's why they have after school programs that, benefit you in some way. But people come there to those intersections with an attitude, and I just think it's sloppy. I think it's just out of control. I don't know how else to it's just every aspect of this city is pissing me off. And speaking of pissing me off and Sharon, me and Sharon we went on a little adventure the other day. And this is why I don't catch buses. I'm not a fan of them. I'll walk before I have to catch a bus. We decided to get on the light rail and go out to Hunt Valley. Well, a tree fell down like after Fallsway. So after Fallsway, I think a tree had fallen down because of the storm. Now, that I didn't see anything reported on it. They wasn't making announcements when you were standing at the light rail station. So the train just stops at Fallsway. We then have to wait on a shuttle bus to take us out Hunt Valley. I know we had to have waited outside maybe 35, 45 minutes just for the bus to get there. It felt like another 45 minutes just to get out there. And I don't even know why I went along with this. I think me and Sharon just needed to get out the house that day, and we just did it. We coming back. So thankfully the shuttle was sitting out there for us. There are no new announcements. The bus man is sitting out there on the cell phone talking to somebody, whoever. We get back to Fallsway on the bus, and it feels like it took another 45 minutes to get back to Fallsway Light Rail Station. Only for the light rail to have started running up again. So we could have put the light rail from where we were back to where we were going. No communication. Actually, when we got out there, when the light rail stopped us initially when we were on our way out Hunt Valley, maybe 4 supervisor cars pulled up. Nobody got out until the 5th one came, and she came out there with some half-ass excuse. But all this to say, the light rail has been shutting down and improving and being repaired, and the communication, the flow of it, you would think that the MTA just started last month. Every time something like this happens, because they don't have a handle on how to troubleshoot. They don't communicate with the customers. And the fares have gone up again. And I don't even remember what the family look on my app and see what the fares are. But the fares have gone up yet again. I think a one-way ticket is now, what's that? Oh, that's one way. I think it is buy tickets, plus one link, full fare. One way is now $2. So it's going up 10 cents. A day pass is $4.60. The 7-day pass is $22. I think that went up $1. The 31-day pass, the monthly pass, is going up $77. So what's the flex 3-pack? What the hell is that? Oh, so you get 3 for $11. So the prices for the fares have gone up, but the service is still piss poor. That's why I do not. My legs will always be as chunky as I'll be. My legs will always be strong because I refuse to get on buses. They just piss poor. Like they're really. How do you raise money in the middle? Like, is that a gas? So I'm guessing that's because of gas. Another thing has gone up because of gas. So if that's it, okay, I get it. But will it go down once the gas subside though? That's my issue. So you're raising something
I doubt
because
it. Gas, I've never seen their prices go down.
it's only been going up
They only
for
go
a
up.
day pass, right? For a day pass to be $4.60 now. And then we still not as much as say like LA or New York, but it's outrageous that the fare is that much. It's to crept up to $4.60. I would never. But that's just where I'm at. It's just a lot of stuff that's frustrating me about government, politics, the educational system. Um, and it's just unfortunate because they're still closing schools down and I understand a lot of schools need repair. Um, and some of it is beyond repair. But just like they're fixing some of the schools up, I don't think that necessarily closing schools down is the answer. The school that I'm actually at Stuart Hill Academy, is in Southwest Baltimore. What's that? I don't even remember the name of the street that it's on. Um, but the school is big enough for them to have repaired one side of the school, took all those students that they have to that side, repaired that side, and brought in another school. It is that big of a school that they could actually close down. What they already are doing it. One side of the school is not even operable. So I would really think that they could close down that side of the school and make the necessary repairs while school is still in session. Doing the things maybe at night or on the weekends or whatever to keep children. And I hate when I see young people when I'm on my way to work and I see these young people getting on and off of buses, and they be young babies, and you'll see their older sibling with them early in the morning to go across town to go to school because there's no schools in their neighborhood that they can go to. It's a real eye opener. And keeping with the thing with schools, I was saying earlier, realize that your children are more comfortable talking to staff and faculty members than they are to you. Some of the things that the young people in my program this summer are revealing to me and the other teacher, it is crazy. And I try to be an open person because you have individuals at the school who are going through things like that. And often they can't talk to the parent because sometimes the parent is a problem. So they need somebody to go to. That's why that Don't Say Gay bill that is in Florida is such a harmful thing because in most cases, students come out to a coach or one of those auxiliary members, or and teachers are typically last on that list, but they normally come out to somebody in their school building, a social worker. I don't know if the higher schools have guidance counselors anymore, but like the guidance counselors, those are the people who they normally come out the most to. And I know I've had quite a few students in my classes come out because they were getting a certain amount of treatment at home, and it would just come out when they were in school that, I think I am gay, or I think I'm bi, or I think I want to be a girl, and those things come out to the faculty members. And I remember in the beginning not knowing how to handle it, but you have to accept that responsibility if that's the line of work that you're in, because often they have no other people to go to. Normally the family unit is the issue for them, or the friction for them, or the reason that they don't have anybody to come out to. So I don't know what parents will have. I don't like speaking at parents because they get very offensive, but I don't know how to better say to a parent, you need to have better conversations with your child. You need to figure out a way for your child to feel that you're an open person, a trusting person, and you're not going to necessarily get mad at them or judge them for being who they are. And not just on the gay side, but just, students talk about committing suicide because they're being bullied, or they're having trouble at home, students not being able to eat at home. They may have an addict parent or absentee parent that works a lot, and then the other parent works a lot. And there are a lot of single parent families, but something needs to happen where these children have a safe space. And like we were saying, they really need to bring and evolve what the civics class is, to teach lessons, but everything can't be on the backs of the schools. And we've had this conversation before on here. We can't keep putting all those stresses on the school system. One, because the teachers are already overtaxed in terms of the things that we have to do. Because even since this pandemic, you have a greater majority of the students who are not on that correct reading, writing, or math level, that still don't know they get to the fifth grade and still don't know how to write complete sentences or spell adequately enough for their grade, or don't know how to do the math. And they are being passed on. And it's not a rule, but it's an unspoken rule that you have to pass them on. And many of them don't have the grades to be able to go on. So the hope is that they just don't come back that year, or you can get them to whatever the last grade of that school is and just pass them on to the next school and give them a problem. But I think parents really need to focus on just building up their children. And I know sometimes it's hard. In a lot of cases, it's probably hard because the parents don't have the tools to do that for themselves. So how can I then give that to the child? And not every parent is a crackhead or alcoholic or absent. And, I know a lot of parents who just work a lot. One of my students' parents worked out of the country. So when she came back, she always made a visit to the school, but she kept her phone. And if you called her, she could have been in Saudi Arabia. This lady figured out a way to answer her phone. I don't care what time of day it was, wherever she was. She traveled a lot for work, but she always maintained communication. And if she didn't answer in that moment, she was going to get back to you. That's somebody who often is on the other side of the globe and made a way. We have parents that are in the same block as the school and don't have that level of communication, or may live a block from the school and still don't have that level of communication. The other side of things, there are a lot of students, especially that their learning disability was revealed during the pandemic in terms of them coming back. So a student that is, if the whole class is a little slow in terms of getting things, a student can hide behind that, but the pandemic revealed a lot. So a lot of students need IEPs, and they are independent educational plans, meaning my child may need a one-on-one, or my child needs for you to, after you've given all the directions to the whole class, my child's IEP is that you need to go to that child individually and help them get the lesson. They didn't get it the same way. Some people have medical IEPs, meaning part of the structure of their class. If I say I have to use the bathroom, I may have an incontinence problem. So I have to use the bathroom. I'm not just playing because I may just very well piss on myself. And there are students all the way up through high school that have that problem. So every child doesn't have a behavioral IEP or an educational IEP. They may have a medical IEP as well. And it's been hard for the school system to care, to invest in many of these children because they don't have perfect attendance. If your child is missing multiple days every week, they're not going to invest their money into getting them wraparound services. Every student is qualified for it, but the thing that will quickly disqualify them is if they miss too many days out of school. One day, a month, or here and there, because, for whatever reason they were sick. But if your child is missing, and we have children that are missing several days throughout the week, but they just don't show up, and they'll come back 2 weeks later with no notes, this is what was happening. A lot of people were using the excuse of COVID, and you didn't have to prove by getting a test that you had COVID. So a lot of students were just staying home and chilling. And we learned that because many of them were communicating still with the students that went in class who would then snitch on them. But one of the biggest things is I think that we have to stop putting so many tasks on the school system. I think a lot of those classes can be restructured so you are getting financial literacy, you are getting entrepreneurship, but a lot of these schools have after-school programs or enrichment programs, in them. So though the problem is they may be getting a watered down version of what is necessary, but they go home for the weekend and it's gone. It's gone. I'm looking at the attention span of some of the students that I have, and mind you, these students are in youth works. So they are getting paid to learn to be an entrepreneur and a jewelry designer. And they're on their phones, the parents are calling them throughout the class, coming to get them early, but it's going to come out when they get their first paycheck. And them hours are shorter than they expected. And that pay is a little bit less than what they had calculated in their mind beforehand. So I think a lot of it is just community and family coming together to reinstate a lot of the things that they are learning in the schools. Because there are more art, enrichment, STEAM programs than ever before. So your children is getting it somehow, but they have to also get it at home. If they only get to go to the science center or the aquarium or to a farm in school and they don't have any connection at home, those things don't mean anything to them in school. So we really have to figure out ways of how to balance that education throughout the day and when they get home, the follow-up of it. But children aren't bringing back homework assignments. They're not doing homework assignments. They don't understand it. They can't read it. They can't comprehend it. So it's just a lot. Would you put your children in the city school system?
As soon as I start working on something, you got.
Well, you asked me who my guest was, and I say, yeah.
I know you did. I'm here.
I would, you.
I would, but I feel as though I would be a different kind of parent, though, because what I find that happens a lot is parents typically are very engaged when their children are young. And slowly, as they become closer and closer to adulthood, they tend to tune out.
Or if they're in sports, they typically ignore the whole school day, but you'll see them there at their practice. And
that too, but that's still engagement. I'm talking about where say for instance, you went from elementary school to middle school, that and then getting into that adventurous side of things when you're freshly new and a student, you come home all cheery and wanting to talk about your day, that starts to happen. And then seventh grade comes, parents may start to fall back, eighth grade, fall back more, ninth grade, entering into high school, some of that cheerfulness comes back because now you've moved on to another height. But you don't, the effort is meaning I would be a different kind of parent because I think I would want to be more involved in, did you bring your homework home? How's your classes going? What's going on? Do you like this school? Is there something wrong? Are you being bullied? Are you, are you happy with your environment? Like those kind of things, because I've witnessed when things are not good for children and then when they are, and how they love. And then when people fall in love with education, like I was in love with education, but did my mother check my homework? Hell no.
Yeah.
And would I be right here right now if I had better encouragement? I don't know. I think maybe I would be somewhere else. Maybe I would be on CNN or something like that.
I think it's, and what you're saying is correct. As a teacher, when they're in pre-K and kindergarten, you see them more. But the moment they're able to walk home, and sometimes a lot of them are walking home before I think it's safe for them. I think you should be walking home by yourself or going home alone until middle school. But you see people in third, fourth, fifth, sometimes second and first walking home by themselves. And as the child gets each year, you see that parent less and less.
It starts to dwindle away, the parental involvement. Because one thing that I know for myself that I would never do, it wasn't done to me, but it could have happened to me, is that syndrome, because I call it's a sickness, and it's spread like wildfire. That syndrome where parents only think they're only supposed to parent up until the age of 18.
Or parent up
as far as education
when they are in school. Their parents will now like, my parents stops once you get in that school building.
And that's not true. That's not true. Me and my sister was just having this conversation. You have the responsibility to create a well-formed adult. At 18, you have not created a well-formed adult because they have not had the process of higher education, which you need. It's almost a requirement to be in a better field other than a fast food employee.
I said a lot of people have been so, like, I remember we went to that, I think she was running for Senate or city councilman or something, and she was saying to send your children to these vocational schools, which are fine. And I think they are great ways for your children to make money while they're at a higher learning educational space. Like, at least, and everybody say it's not for everybody, but you have to at least try it.
I agree, and it's not for everybody. But could it have been for you if you had a better educational background system? We only say it's not for everybody when those kids that are in that environment are not being trained properly to become a higher education student. You have to be. It says something about first kindergarten, pre-K, all the way to high school. 12th grade, that is your training to become a college student. That is your training. You are learning to read, write, arithmetic, and to garner the ability to go to college. So if you don't feel like it's for you, you've been failed.
Yeah. And you've been failed by parents, teachers, community alike.
Anybody that was your support system that didn't prepare you for college because you should have been prepared. One thing that I always say too with that is multifaceted with that is that higher education shouldn't cost you if your primary education didn't cost you. Why are you paying to be highly educated if I'm already being trained in this process that was free at first? And then just because I want to go to a higher level, you're not going to charge me? That makes no sense to me. Why isn't it, the degree system? It's just the degree system, period. Pre-K through finishing.
Yeah.
The completion. Why would you start charging at the point of higher education being college? That makes no sense.
But that's where socialism comes in, where they begin to separate people based on their economic status or their projected economic
Yeah, but that's what I'm
status.
saying. But they prepared you for it. Every single level of your schooling, you went to a different school. They prepared you for it. Your elementary school, then you go to a middle school, then you go to a high school, then you should be going on to college. It should be in the cycle. It shouldn't be a new thing to go to college.
But we have to understand that people have, especially for Black men, made it a thing where you need to go find a job. You know,
Right.
and finding a job, it takes you 10 times as long to get to your goal than if you would have went. And I'm a person who I felt like what I went to college for, I could have just done that outside of going to college. But I still needed the networking, I still needed the foundation because I went to predominantly white schools. So I'm a Black artist. So I needed to have learned what it was to be a Black artist. So that's why I went to a Black school at HBCU. But those are the things that they don't tell you. Most of the people who quote unquote college isn't for, they get a better system and a better experience out of college because they do all of the services that the school
But
offers.
I hate that saying. That's what I'm saying. I hate that saying when somebody says college just wasn't for you or something like that. You know, that just means that it wasn't for you. You don't want to do it.
Right.
It's not that it wasn't for you because anything can be for you if you're interested. You don't want to do it. Admit that.
Right.
Don't say it wasn't for you because college didn't say you weren't for me. College can't tell you that.
And there's some people who,
because you could be a plumber at a trade school, but you also could be a plumber in college.
Yeah.
So
I remember
college didn't
telling
tell
my
you
sister
wasn't
that
for you.
my sister wanted to become a nurse, and she went through one of the programs to become a nurse. And I said, that's great. So now you can get a job being a nurse while you go to college to become an RN. You should not let that process stop you.
And that's the funny part about it. And they don't even really know that you could be a nurse in 2 years.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
A registered nurse in 2 years. And then you can get your BS in 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So 2 years to get your associated degree in nursing, and then another 2 years to get your BSN. And now you're a registered nurse with a bachelor's degree.
Yeah. And there are plenty of ways.
And if you would have known that all these people that's going to these CNA programs, these medical assistance programs, and all of that time that's being wasted on not being a nurse.
Well, but see, even some of them, eventually they learn, like my sister.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's usually the path it takes. They become a CMA to a CNA to a nurse.
And you have to work. I think that's a smart way of doing it because it guarantees you a job, because often some of these medical places will pay for you to go to school.
Exactly.
If you work for them for a certain amount of years.
Oh yeah, that's my best friend. My best friend is a staple for that example. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go into these nursing fields, but they don't know the proper route. And then you wait, and then you look at yourself 20 years later, you finally became a nurse.
Yeah. And that's,
but who do you blame that on? That's the point I was making. Who do you blame that on? That's something that you could have been focusing on if your parents were in the picture doing the right thing at the same time and not living for that one number, 18.
But again, if they didn't do it, how would you like?
Right, but I'm talking about changing the mindset of that one number, 18. Right. Stop living on the fact that your child is now becoming an adult.
Try to get them to be 18, yeah.
To get them to be 18 so you can cut ties. Because basically that's what you're expelling to them. I don't have to pay for you no more because you're grown.
And that's
in infatuality, you have the responsibility of taking care of their child till they're 26.
And you've actually damaged them by getting them to 18 and they're at that stage.
And then cutting them off because then now you're creating the environment for this to repeat with their own children.
And there's some students that just learn different and they don't get it as fast as other students. And I feel for them. And that's what those wraparound services, like the Baltimore City School, or the city school system rather, they have a lot of service, and most school districts have those same services. But because the child may not be coming to school, or the parent don't know what to ask for, or they don't have an advocate on their side, they don't know that they can get those wraparound, like reading and writing, coaching and stuff like that. But it does it affects me, and you've heard me go off on plenty of people who feel like college isn't for everybody. And typically people who say that, is they come from families that education wasn't a priority, or they've gone to college and pissed away their time drinking, fucking, and having fun. And those are the people who normally say, I'm, it's a scam. It's not a scam. You didn't know what you wanted to be. So you wasted money and you wasted time.
Because
Now
every
you
single
bitter because
class
you
that you
owe
have
money.
in college, you can actually get something out of and actually implement into your regular day life if you were paying attention.
And I have friends who went to college. They may not have finished, and they got more out of the programs of college. Like I have a lot of friends who are really good event managers now. They promoters because they did like the booster club or like those types of clubs, the events. They put on the concerts. They worked in those offices, and they the entertainment office at the school. And or the students, I have a couple friends that are in politics because they went through the college system and became president or Mr. Coppin or Miss Coppin. And they're
Right.
doing political things now with their life. And it's across the gambit of
You know what I'm
opportunity.
finding that is not being asked anymore,
But
especially probably in high school time, in the age group of high school kids.
mhm.
What do you want to be?
Well, they give them a test now. That's a test that they take. And I know I took the test in high school.
But I'm talking about. I'm not even saying just school.
Mhm.
Even from a parental level, what do you want to be?
Yeah.
What is
Because
your
they focus,
passion?
because
Because I
people
think that would
focus more on the
expound on a
job.
lot of people trying to figure out what if they are going to college. Because most of the time they wait till they get out of high school and then they're forced to find out what they're going to do, and then you're
And most
forced
times,
into a trade program that's going to burn you out, like
uh-huh,
truck driving. Like
right.
wow, like
But see, I had a unique situation where I went through matriculated to private school my whole life, and I ended up after high school, I wound up going to Job Corps because I didn't. There was no plan. There's nobody planned or strategized for me. Nobody was advocating. Nobody asked me what I wanted to be, and I ended up in Job.
that's my point. No one asked that question about what do
Yeah,
you want to be, like what,
yeah.
so we can put you on the track in high school to
And
becoming
I
that.
was in every program, and I was just that kid that just slipped through the cracks with people. I ended up in Job Corps with a high school diploma and smart. And I literally stayed there for 3 months. Most people stay in Job Corps for over a year. And I only stayed in 3 months because they were so slow and unorganized with their system. I got a nursing certificate, went to try to find a job as a nursing to one of those centers that help you find a job. And they wind up looking at the fact that I had a high school diploma, that I didn't have a record or anything. I had a nursing certificate, and a man gave me the option. Do you want me to help you get me a job? I can send you to it was a nursing home on Frankfurt over on Macedonia. He
Mhm.
said, I know somebody that'll hire you today, or you can go to college. And I was like, I really don't want to wipe asses for the rest of my life. So I was like, I knew people in my family that went to college, but it wasn't a lot of people. So I
Mhm.
was like, well, I'm gonna try to go to college. And
And I had
literally,
no
that's how I
idea
got in.
I would be doing what I'm doing today, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because my intention on being on even learning accounting was
Yep.
to be able to manage and take care of my own business as a cosmetologist,
Right. Right.
not to be an accountant. And I
Mm-hmm.
ended up becoming an accountant and doing this
But you can take that
far away
anywhere.
from being a cosmetologist because
Yep.
that's what I wanted to do. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to open my own salon and I wanted to run it wholeheartedly and offer people jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted to do. And in return, here I am, a
Doing
producer.
the same thing though.
A producer though,
Mm-hmm.
totally out of my field.
And that's what college does. College introduces you to other possibilities. When I went to college, I realized every class or organization I was a part of up and through high school, I could actually do that for a living. And they not telling. When I go into these schools and I'm teaching these children jewelry, they like, oh, that's cute, but how do you make money? And I was like, well, come to my studio and you'll see how I make money. And I'm not saying my way was the easy way, but I had plenty of friends who went to school and tried to become an accountant or try to do something that where the money was. And now at 30 some years old, they're coming to ask me, how do I fill out a grant? I want to open up my own art studio. I want to open up my own theater. And I'm not judging them, but I'm saying college for me it opened me up to possibilities even outside of the classroom time. The networking that you find there, some people, they have some of their best relationships are their college friends. And that's how they get jobs or they join fraternities or sororities or, academic programs, and they become something that they never thought they could be. One of my friends, she went through the CNA and she just graduated with her doctorate as a nurse. So like she wouldn't even have thought that would have been her path in life. But she started working. It was something that she loved to do. And now she's at the top of her field, being offered an educational job where she's not even in a hospital anymore. She's teaching other people to do the things that she did. But I just, I think it's a shared responsibility. I don't even put it all on the teachers, because if you have a school system, it should be equipping students to be well-rounded people, not just employees. And I definitely hate the fact that, like you said, they don't ask children what they want to be anymore. They more so try to figure out what job they can get. Like, I gotta get you into Popeyes. You can get yourself a summer job so you can pay for these uniforms next year versus, finding sustainable, opportunities for them to grow, because that then becomes your investment. And if your child does well in life, they will take care of you at the end of yours. But a lot of parents, they're still sacrificing, but they're sacrificing in the wrong way. So now their child is joining them in the workforce versus putting your child ahead.
Or you've already created the possibility or started the path to the possibility of generational wealth. Because if that would have happened for your parents, they would have already established themselves as somebody that could afford college.
But
for you.
But you
and
see,
then you can do it the same thing and establish your own path and your affordability before college for your children. And now you've sustained yourself to the point where now you don't have to rely on programs and financial aid and all of these different things to get your life to where you want it to be, because you would have started off in the right place in the first place.
There's an interesting wave that's happening now. There are a lot more people that are doing that. Like, this pandemic brought about people having these halls and catering companies and boutiques. And it's in a market that we're in right now. Even what I'm doing is scary because I'm not seen as essential, but there are still opportunities for people to create stuff from the ground up and be able to have. I know a lot of people who have bought halls or bought spaces and turned them into event halls, and their children are working at the space. So they're creating opportunities for their children, but you never know. You don't have to be a drug dealer anymore to create those types of spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the most positive things that came out of the pandemic. People really decided to do the stuff that they always wanted to do. And whether it be just owning a business, a lot of them don't know what they're doing, but that's the best way to learn sometimes for some people, the hard way. But I really think,
right, but you just made a great point there, because a lot of people have started their own businesses but don't have the business acumen to get things done and really just fall short on what they're trying to do. And then but they typically wait till the process is almost failed before they then ask for help.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you do that at the end of when you ran out of money, no one's willing to help, because then you'd already proven that you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. And that's a lot of businesses, Ford and all those businesses had beginnings like that. But culturally, within our culture, we have not across the board set ourselves up to where we're willing to support people as they're building. We watch people take all their money and they get this windfall, they win a lottery, insurance policy, and they start this business, and we watch them fail. And then it's like, didn't you have a business? Yeah, I tried that restaurant, it didn't work. And now they're back working somewhere. And I just
because
think we
they don't, and a
them.
lot of that comes from not wanting to share. A lot of that comes from not wanting to share. They don't want to share the profits. They want everything. They want to be able to be their self-made person that did everything on their own. And a lot of jobs, a lot of places that you go into like that are bound to fail because you already are going to have somebody to help you, like your suppliers and all that kind of stuff. You're going to want great deals and stuff like that. So you've already went into agreements that you already said, I'm okay. Now you're assisting me. Now, why don't you ask somebody else outside of that kind of arrangement to help you? That way you don't have to take on all of the liability.
Well, isn't that the pot calling the kettle?
Oh, I would accept help. You know that.
Yeah, but we all, like, it's a trust thing that I know we have. Like, you don't want nobody to take your idea, or you don't want nobody to take over. But there's no because we don't communicate effectively with each other, and we don't get stuff in writing. Those are the types of problems that happen. And I'm learning that I've made so many mistakes, having a business and now opening up an actual space for my business. Like, and it's a crazy space. And I'm realizing a lot of people don't know what they're doing, and they're just doing, the thing that gets them money the quickest. And that's a surefire way of losing your money and losing your business. But I think in terms of the children, setting them up in a way, and at some point, my mother used to always say, somebody has to sacrifice, and nobody's willing to sacrifice. So now you and your child are working at the same company for the rest of your lives. I have a lot of family members who was in social work, the Social Security building, or in the post office, and then their children joined, and their children joined. And I remember, like, I wanted to go to BWI. And my family was like, no, we're not, no, because you're going to be retiring in 35 years, and you're going to be miserable. You're going to have a nice piece of change, but you're going to be 40, 50 years old, pissed. You just wasted all that time, and all you got out of it was a buddy pass. So, but it's just, I really feel like, in taking this all the way back to these squeegee kids, somebody has to have some type of plan for them. Like, it has to be put them to work on these sets, these movie sets or something. Put them in a movie, or The Wire's coming back. They need to hire all those boys to be extras and teach them the business, like have them shadow. Some of them is going to be a little sketchy because whatever.
I'm steady talking and I'm muted. Sorry. I'm still in the headspace of trying to figure out one, what is the major issue about them? I know one of them is the safety factor that somebody might get hit with a car.
Yeah.
But besides that, because from what I've seen, they take precautions on not getting hit. They wait for the light to turn red and then go out. And then when the light turns green, they proceed to move to the center, either the center aisle or onto the side of the road.
When they dart in between cars, that makes me so nervous.
That part makes me nervous. But those are the ones that are not trying to keep with safety, right? Because they're just trying to get to the money. They're trying to get the money.
Right.
But outside of that, what is the real issue? Is it because the drivers are scared?
Well, it's a perception of these black boys.
It's black, but that's where I was getting at. Is it a color? Now we're back to color. Right. And you came into this predominantly that color city.
Because I don't see them highlighting the white people that's out there cleaning windows, or the white panhandlers in this neighborhood, the white people that's out there with their little signs.
Sharon here, she said amen, and she agrees. Sharon's, I was getting ready to start talking about because I wanted to bring up I don't know if you've seen it because you didn't actually say anything about it. Ed Norris is talking.
What did he have to say?
So I had to, I don't care, but I had to remind people that he was fired. Okay.
Oh, he's a radio personality now. That's
But
why
he was fired and he was arrested and charged with stuff as he was being fired. Okay. So I'm not taking advice from somebody that was a criminal or any kind of situation where you are fired from the job as the top cop.
The actual top
Because
cop.
of the way you treated the citizens of said city. So he was touting in this interview that he did on Fox 45, he was touting that we had brought the murder rate down to 200 and all this other kind of stuff because of the policies I created. You forgot where you came from, sir.
But he doesn't
your
create
policies was
policies as a
always
police
afflicting
officer.
Black folk. When you was
But
in
he
New York,
doesn't create
you had
policy.
those problems.
That wasn't his job to create policy. He was a police officer.
Well, he was the commissioner, so it was his job to create the policies, but his policies was always racist in nature.
But he worked with city council to create those things. It wasn't like that was his
not
job.
necessarily, because he created the policies for the police department and how they, how they approach people, which was the stopping, which is what he brought here to the city, which was racially motivated stop and frisk. And I don't know where he gets off that he was the best at doing that job, because he was not. That's why you were fired. Remember, you were fired. That's why you're not there now.
For corruption, right?
Corruption and misconduct while in office. So Fox 45 is good. It's not good. That's the wrong choice of word. Is always shown to be biased.
Yeah.
And that has never changed, even though it's Fox 45 in Baltimore, they still follow the same path as Fox 40. It's Fox, period.
It's Fox, yeah. Yeah. It's
and every word that comes out their mouth, all I hear is it may not be, I don't even know if it's intentional, but everything that happens on that channel is always racially motivated to me. To me.
Well, that's always the underlining.
It's like the undercurrent.
Yeah.
Of everything that happens on that channel. That's why I just can't.
Yeah.
But he goes on to say, he went on to say that he I wanted to play the video, but I don't want to see him on here. Not on my station. And he just went on to say, like, if it was me, they would have been arrested.
Well, it would have been
doing what? I mean, like, are you serious? Like, you have no compassion for the fact that these children just survived the pandemic? Like, what is your issue?
I mean, but he's a criminal, so
that's what I'm saying, right? Like I'm not going to take your advice. Save it for your radio show and your listeners.
Your Trump supporters.
But they used him like he was the character reference to this, to why crime is high. No. Crime didn't happen in a funnel, and it never will. Crime happens when people are disassociated.
Yeah. And it's only going to get worse because homes are being outpriced. Where do people live? They don't want them out in the county. So where people will go live?
And then I referenced this. Because this 15-year-old had a gun, right? And as our society is edging more and more to every person having a gun, this is what you're going to see more often.
So would it have been different if the man pulled a gun on him?
That's what I'm saying. Now it would have been a gunfight, right? He brought a bat to a gunfight. But this is what we're indoctrinating our people with today. Everybody go get your gun certification. Everybody go get your gun, your concealed carry permit. So everybody's now going to have a gun. We're getting ready to see more of this. This is what's going to happen. That 15-year-old is not in a funnel, because if it was a white kid with the gun, what would we be saying? Because that's what we see in images every time we talk about gun control or trying to get something to happen with the Second Amendment. Then we see all of these things, especially in the Trump classification. You'll see all of these kids at the gun shows.
Yeah.
Taking pictures holding guns with their parents. Oh, we getting ready to go shoot up the all the animals and kill so we can feed ourselves. That you don't never do.
But taking it back to the voting space, what I hope is happening across the country now in the various elections that may be happening in other places and thereafter is this thing with Roe versus Wade, this gun control legislation, because we're hearing white people speak out now. It's not just other cultures. These are white people speaking out against these things. So the one thing that I hope happens is they get a better sense of uh, who is for them and who's not against them. And I think this one, unlike the last few that hinged on either black women or black men for Trump, black women for Obama, I think this one's going to hinge on white women and maybe LGBTQ individuals as well. But I hope that people aren't still voting in their pockets, because voting in your pockets only makes your pockets smaller. Because
I just wish we would change the way we make rules for a particular society.
Others,
right?
Yeah.
Because if abortion is so important and should be taken back to the states, right? I don't believe that's the thing that should happen either, because now what you're saying is because 700, wait a minute, 500, 600 people in Congress can't get this done. We're going to send it back to the states so a panel of maybe another 300 people can make the decision for the masses. That's not fair. It's not right, because you're talking about sending it back to the state. So you're talking about the state houses and representatives making decisions for the masses. How is that different than saying Congress should do it, right? Why not put it on the ballot and let this die with the with whoever has the majority? If this was on the ballot for everybody to vote on whether abortion is right or wrong, we could be done with this.
Well, they're not going to do that because they're
not going to do it. But we, the people, need to make them do it, because they're not making this decision out of the interest of the people. They're making it out of interest of their religion and how they feel about abortion, and that's not correct. It's not right.
Like with the gun situation, they're running on the space of or doing things based off of the special interest groups paying them off. So it's understandable to me why we as a collective don't have any trust.
I mean, this has gone on long enough. It's been almost 60 years. It's gone on long enough. Put it on the ballot and let the people be definitive on it. Let us vote on it. We're voting anyway. Put it on the ballot. It ain't going to stop the other 50 questions.
But that's what, like you just said, it's going to take us forcing that to happen, because like they're trying to restrict voter registration right now, or the effect of how people can vote, or they're taking away whole voting spaces for people. They're trying to limit what we can do. And that's why I get frustrated with people who say that my vote don't count. If they wouldn't be doing all this stuff, if it did not count. Like, they know how much weight it carries. That's why they try to sway your vote.
Also, when you say your vote doesn't count, that's because you're not speaking loudly enough. So if you feel as though your vote ain't counting, all you did was vote, then you're not doing enough.
Well, we know most of those people who say stuff like that don't even go out and vote. So that then becomes their issue. You're not even voting to see if your voice counts. You're just basing it off of the results of everybody else going out and voting.
And especially when you're not following along with what you actually want. You're not even tracking the progress on what you even want. If you really wanted it, you would know every step of the way and found a way to get it done.
Well, and most of them are looking at the national election for all the answers. Where the answers are really...
That does nothing for you locally.
Yeah.
It does nothing for you locally.
And that's the part
we're talking about what you need to have happen in your backyard.
Right. That affects you the most. That keeps you from having Mosby as
and that's another point of contention for me, because they keep pointing at Biden to take care of crime.
That's not even his department.
It's not his department at all. He has no control over how crime happens in any of these states. Because the only thing he controls is the military, and the military can't act on American soil.
Right. It's just crazy because people really, you can tell, like me taking civics class gave me a pretty good understanding of what everybody's job was. Uh, because I didn't practice it other than going out to vote once I became of age, it really did not, a lot of it stuck, but every election I'm having to, refresh myself. But I see a lot of people not even doing that. If they do vote, they're voting off of emotion or whether they like somebody or not. I don't know Marilyn Mosley personally. I met the lady maybe 3 times. I don't know her. I don't know what her favorite food is. I don't know what her favorite color is. That's not my business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what she did with buying a home. How I was able to see what she was
Yeah, but
doing
that has nothing to do with
outside
her
of her job
prosecutorial
description.
rate. That has nothing to do with her prosecutorial rate. And stay out of her
No,
money. Stop watching her money so hard.
right.
It's none
Trying
of
to
your
find
business.
something, but they're trying to find something to catch her on.
To try to discredit her. But
We
that's
can't
to
get
try to
her
discredit someone.
right.
And if
We
you can
can't get
see
her
that,
based on her job. So let's go find some money that she messed up or something.
right. So if you can see that it's to discredit her, why would you even use that in your decision making on trying to prosecute or who she can prosecute?
Right, right. It's very unfortunate.
If she broke the law, yes, catch her.
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with her job. That's her personal life.
Nothing. If anything, I don't
If
see
she
her insurance
influenced her
company going
decision
after her.
making, if she influenced her money with her position, then yes, catch her for that.
Yeah.
But that's not what I've heard so far. What I've heard is that she used her money to buy a house.
Yeah.
And whether she took it from, like I said, from her IRA, her retirement account, or whatever the case may be, that is a penalty through the IRS. That has nothing to do with these legal charges. I don't get these cases.
And that's really her mortgage company, other than taxes.
But what I'm saying is if she got it from her 401k, her IRA, or whatever the case may be, those are called penalties. She would have to pay the taxes on money she withdrew for those accounts. Why is this a criminal case? I have no idea.
Well, because they had financial issues before all this came out, what if she did borrow against it to be able to pay those things off and use she took out a little bit more to go buy these properties that were probably dirt cheap.
And that's my point. Regardless of whatever happens, she's still an employee. She's still getting a paycheck. If she owes money, garnish her wages. What are we talking about here? We're trying to be petty, and this is an actual direct conflict on trying to make somebody biased against their own nature. That's crazy. Trying to make her seem criminal for using her own money before she retires.
And the same thing,
it's still her money.
Right. White families have been doing since the beginning of time. Borrowing against mortgages and insurance. That's all they do.
That's
how they
her money, regardless if she took it out before she turned 65 or not. It's still her money. If she wanted to borrow it or withdraw it, she still had that ability to do so. It's just that one means that she'll be penalized for it and taxed, and the other means that she's borrowing it. It's a loan, and she has to pay it back.
And none of that stuff had to be reported as in her job title.
But this is the brew. Now we're talking about the brew. This is the brew that does that.
The brew,
that's one of the most biased people I've ever seen, ever.
It's a brew and it's another one.
The Sun.
Of course, the Sun, right. The Sun and the brew. Like, they are notorious.
They're biased. All they do is everything is biased with them. They're biased.
It's not supposed to be in journalism.
Exactly.
It's scary because if you can't see that this is racism, you're crazy. Just the comments about her. She's arrogant. They never said she was stupid. She's arrogant.
And that matters.
Right.
Matters kind of like the most.
Right. But like you said,
stupid.
She has to have that demeanor to be in that, because she's over top of all the lawyers, basically, in the city.
Correct.
She has to have that attitude. She's a black young woman. Like, she has to. Married to the idiot husband. Like,
oh, hold on, let me press this button.
I'm just saying. because he gets away with his little smile and he gets to go out there and shake hands, and she's being called a bitch.
Right.
Like the dynamic. When I saw him sitting down, and I'm gonna say the restaurant next phase on Lexington Street when I was going there to get my chicken wings, and I saw him sitting there with Bernard Jack Young. Is that I said his name right? They was having a meeting when he was about to go up before he announced it, and I saw them two sitting in there having a meeting. And I swear, when I came in there, it was nobody else in there. When I came in there, they got up and left. I'm not saying it was because of me, but I was paying a lot of attention to them because I was trying to eavesdrop.
Oh no, they know. They know. They know.
And I would have brought that shit right back.
I think we the cause to some of them losing their jobs, Bernard Young.
You know who I want? What happened to old boy? What's the little light skin with name that got an office? I think he was in the clerk's office or something. Always wonder what happened to him. The Lord.
Oh, you talking about Hassan?
Yeah, Hassan. Always wonder what happened to him.
I don't know. He not running for Wills again, so
is he still in the office though?
Or was he clerk? Or did he win clerkship? He's not running again. I know that. Because I already put it was I think it was like 4 females for clerk this time. So I guess he letting it go. Because he won. He was clerk. He was the clerk of Baltimore City. The file clerk.
He was there for a couple years. But he started wearing the suits and you'll speak to him and he'll be like, and just keep moving like he was precious cargo. Like you don't even have security, sir. You walking out here by yourself.
Don't nobody know you.
Don't nobody know you. They might think you work for the post office. You start wearing full suits now. First it was just a blazer. But now you got the whole
like that. He's a cool person.
But it's just.
But he had a. I want to say I can say that too. He did like have a chip on his shoulder once he got the position.
Chip. He had a whole new attitude. You couldn't tell him nothing. But I like when people run, but I think the people are running for the wrong reasons because the last election, all these people were trying to I think when Obama's last term, everybody was trying to run for the office that gets the president elected, the electoral college, because they figured out that that's a local election ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So all these people, my cousin tried to run for it. Like all these people were trying to run for that office because now they know that that's the power seat in the local election, one of them. But the fact that people don't know these things or didn't know, I know a lot of people that did not know what the electoral college was. Did not understand that that's one of the most powerful things that you can vote for.
Right.
But they don't know. They don't know that that's how
I can be honest. I didn't know about it until probably. No, I actually did know about it because I learned about it in citizenship class. But it didn't dawn on me how powerful it was.
Right.
And how even the politicians really didn't know too much about it. That's what's interesting about it. Even people that run for those particular representative offices and the Senate offices, and they really didn't know the particulars of it too. Because remember, we were just having this argument about for the 2020 election on whether the Electoral College can change their way they vote after the citizens have voted.
Right. I always was taught that they had to go with the majority.
They have to go with the majority of who won in the state. Exactly.
But that defeats because I remember asking in civics class, so why are there multiple ones? Why is not just one or two of them? If they have to go with the majority.
What's interesting is that why does it even matter? Because it should just be whoever voted majority. The majority rules.
Right. That's
like
a waste of
like breaking it down by state doesn't guarantee anything just because of how many people live there. So you think adding up these numbers outweigh the means of the majority, which is kind of a sucky way to do things because they're saying that does invalidate your vote. It kind of invalidates your vote.
Yeah. Especially if they
if
go
you get
against what the
out of
majority
150 million people, if one person gets 80 million and you only get that other 70 million, that means that president should win by popular demand, right?
Right.
But the way the electoral college works is you get a certain amount of votes in each one of these states. If the vote is off, or the count is in the majority favor of that other party, they win.
Yeah.
You won the popular vote, they won the electoral college. The electoral college overrules the popular vote. So that means your vote didn't count, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong in thinking that?
That's
your vote did not count.
And that's many people's argument. That's most people's argument. That's why they feel that their vote doesn't count, because how is it that I voted and he won the popular vote, but these bitches still get the vote? Like, what do they vote?
They still get the win. That don't make sense.
And do they get to vote in the election themselves? Like, that's like I'm gonna find somebody to ask, because I want to know.
And they try to cover it, and we do it this way because some states don't have as many. It has a bigger population as what. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, move out of that state.
Start having more babies. What you want me to tell you? I don't get it.
It still doesn't matter though, because it should not be about. So the number should be. The number is insignificant, because if you only got 5 people that live there and 4 people vote for this person and it doesn't matter that is 4 people. You outwon. We won.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't win. It doesn't, like, I don't even like the fact that they count the votes. Like, they adding up. They either won Maryland or they didn't win Maryland. That's it.
Right.
I don't even think they should get numbers. Like, they won it or they didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
Pass or fail. That's it. Because when you start adding numbers, that's when people start cheating, and when you make it about the numbers, rather, that's when cheating happens and Trump happens. Like, I don't think it should be about the number.
And especially when you're trying to make it against party, because when you try to talk about all these, I just want the party system just to go away in the first place, because it should be based on citizens. It should be based on citizens, period.
Like,
if you want something and you get the majority of people that want that same thing, then that should be the rule.
But I don't even believe in them, because what is happening right now with what's the two Democrats that's on the side of the Republicans? Like, I think they were already Republicans.
But that's, you know what, this leads into another assessment that I had, right? And that's the assessment of who represents you. Again, my argument about this election is that we don't have, there is no visibility besides all these freaking postcards they keep sending to my house that I put in a recycling bin. Thank you, Baltimore City. But it's the assessment that your representation, it's the thought that your representation is garnered on who represents your district.
Yeah.
But I've never seen them before. I've never met them. I've never had the chance to engage them. They haven't knocked on this door to tell me they were running again. Chris Van Hollen.
But the interesting thing about my neighborhood, these people live in that neighborhood. So you
still don't have no visibility.
But when you see them, like when you're in a market. So when I'm looking at the flyers, I know this person. Other than the senators, nobody ever sees them. After what's his name passed away, you'll never see another senator. Right, you'll never see another senator again unless they're on TV. But
yeah, because I've met Kwesi. He's a representative though.
But he's used to being.
I met him twice. I want to say twice, maybe 3 times.
But he has a better record of being engaging than a lot of these other people.
And he has a bigger platform too, because of the NAACP.
Right. And
but
up there,
visibility means, I don't care if it was this. I do believe that your representative should have actually seen or had a conversation with you at least once. I know it's 1 million people, but still. You should have actually been able, and I mean, when I say a conversation, I even count at a town hall meeting as a conversation, because if you had the chance to stand up and raise your hand and voice your concerns, then that's a conversation that you've had the opportunity to pass on to your representative. What we don't get here is all we see is these polls, these mystery polls that say that these people want this.
Yeah.
How you know that has something to do with me if you've never met me? Stop representing me through polls, okay?
Like,
I've never taken a poll. I've never taken a poll. I've never ever done one. No one's never asked me a question nor called me. Well, one did. I had to call. I had to say I can't take that poll because I'm a part of media. That's what you're supposed to do. That's your job. I'm not supposed to be influencing anything, and that's not what's happening. Exactly.
That's why I was asking: does the Electoral College get to vote separately?
No, that was my point. That was the argument Trump was trying to make. Can he change? Can they change to sway? Change it any way they want to when they win the state. They can give their votes to whoever they want to. No, you can't, because it's based on majority rules. Majority, whoever won that state gets those votes.
So that person doesn't get to vote. I'm gonna look into it, because
I think there's only one or two states that actually have the power to divide how they give their candidates money. Give their candidates their votes, and I think one of them is Vermont. They only got 4, and I think when in this past election they was like dividing it between 3 go to this person and 1 goes to this one, because of how they won.
That's an interesting space to be in, because it never dawned on me to even ask that question until we just started talking about it. Like the fact that, do they vote? I understood that they had to not necessarily vote. They could not vote on party lines, but they had to. What I was told was they had to go with the majority. But that makes no sense if they didn't have to vote. So if you're going with the majority, why are you then voting?
Well, it's not even a vote. It's to certify the winnings. So you're talking about what happens in December after the election. They then come in and then certify. That state has to then certify that all of those votes are going to this particular candidate.
Okay. I understand why it's confusing for some people, because I've been reading.
It's too much.
It's still confusing, right?
It's too much, especially when most lay people are watching the election. Like, okay, he got this many votes. Oh, we almost there. We almost made it. Not knowing that may not be the case. He might win the popular vote, but he might not win that Electoral College because of how the votes are divvied up.
And I remember my civics teacher saying, election night numbers are projections. They're not the actual numbers until they're certified.
Yep.
Because you don't know what numbers are official.
And then you'll recall that on most election nights that happen here in America, all of the votes aren't in, but they can project a winner.
Right.
Because that's based off they're adding up the Electoral College votes in the background and not telling you that. That's not what they're presenting to you. They're presenting to you on live TV what's happening with the counts of votes coming in from people. And then later on, they'll tell you that this person is projected to win because they got all the Electoral College votes. They got the majority of them. It's been recent in the past couple of election cycles that now they have that Electoral College chart at the bottom showing you how they're getting, progressing with the win. It's just it's weird. We live in a society that's just all kinds of messed up because most of them people that was writing the Constitution couldn't read and write themselves. Hello.
As slaves were drafting those letters.
Anybody that allowed you to put wood in their mouth as teeth, come on.
It wasn't wood. It was actually the teeth from old slaves.
George Washington's teeth were wood. He used to get splinters in his lips.
They proved that they
He used to get splinters in his lips, and nobody's gonna tell me different.
No, they were actually the teeth of his slaves. So they would take their teeth out and fashion them for him. So yeah. So he had his slave teeth in his fucking mouth. Bastard. But that's just where I'm at with this country, because even me trying to watch some of the Senate hearings and meetings, the language is, the jargon is so thick that you have to translate that before you even figure out what they're talking about, and then to even make a decision like where you fall at on it is very confusing. That's why I watch The View, because they break it down in such a simplistic way. Oprah and Hostin and the old lady,
Whoopi.
How
Whoopi.
Whoopi, yeah, they break it down in a way that's just you understand it at its simplest form because they make it so difficult so you don't get it. So you wind up voting for something that you don't really understand. I've heard a lot of people say a lot of those bills that they have, the language how they're written, they don't understand it. So they wind up either skipping it or just checking something.
Mm-hmm.
So you're voting and that's like some budget item things that they put on there. But the way that they're voting, the way they word it is confusing. So I don't know. I just wish we could just get things back in order because it's just not. It's confusing to me. While we're having a lot of the problems that we're having, and we don't have to have it if more people have been voting in these elections than ever before, and we're still having the problems because people aren't following up. They aren't coming out in the same capacity for local elections. Like where I go to vote, and I go there every year. It's normally for the national election, it is packed. You got to get there first thing in the morning, or you got to get there last at night. And then for the local elections, you normally can walk in and out, no problem. And they've combined.
But which is why the rhetoric is so high. This is why that happens. And this is why you see everybody running in this particular state running on the platform of crime, right? Because unless crime hurts you, you're not going to talk about it. You're not going to do anything about it. You're not going to see anything happen. Like, say, I'll use myself as an example. I've never been shot. I've never been shot at. I've never been around a gun. So would that be my issue? See what I'm saying?
Right.
But I take up a cause because I see what happens around me.
Right.
It may not be directly happening to me, but it's happening around me. Other people are affected because I care. One, I wish I didn't. I swear I do. But I do because I don't believe people deserve a lot of care, actually. Because you set yourself up for a lot of the problems that you suffer through.
Especially when you don't do your civic responsibility.
Exactly. That's why I said that. You set yourself up for a lot of stuff that you should be caring about. Why don't you go to a city hall meeting? But you want to yell in the streets about how high crime is. Well, go down to city hall to figure out why crime is high. Because that's where you should be telling your stories on why crime is high. Tell people what you see, and maybe we can do something about it. But if you're going to keep your mouth shut, this is what you're going to get, and this is what you deserve.
And as a person who started going to those Monday meetings because the station was right there and I would just walk down there on my break, it was frustrating because you could go, they let you in, but they still find ways to keep you from participating.
And people don't know they can call the police anonymously. You don't have to be the witness. You don't have to be the witness to tell somebody about a crime.
Yeah.
That's what 1-800-LOCKUP is for.
I mean, even if you...
What's it called? 1-800-Crime something? Crime Stoppers? Or something like
that? Yeah.
That's what it's for. You don't have to be the witness. You don't have to get on the stand. You don't have to do anything because the police's job is to find the evidence to convict. You don't have to do that. If you want a better city, start to talk. Stop with that snitching shit.
But see, even with that, it's a misunderstanding because I'm not a criminal. Stop snitching is when two criminals have done something, either together or separately.
They don't want you to snitch on them.
To get a lesser crime.
The innocent party can't be a snitch.
Right. It has nothing. Niggas who are not in the gangster life have usurped that, so they feel like they are part of that life that they refuse to be a part of. Now it's everyday citizens that are snitches. I am going to say it. If you do something to somebody I know, I'm snitching. I don't give a fuck who you are.
And most people in the family ain't going to say nothing about it because they want to benefit from the fact that you broke that rule.
I ain't a part of that lifestyle. I'm a fuck.
I want to live better. I don't want to live bad. I don't want to live bad. No. I want to live better than I did when I grew up. I want to be better than I was when I was younger. I want to be better than I was. I want to be better than my parents were.
Yeah.
Because I got people that I'm living for today.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people, like my sister felt like she had to move all the way out Hunt Valley in order to have a better quality of life. And I just don't want to move all the way out there. I mean, I don't want to I'm not going to live in Baltimore for the rest of my life, but I definitely am not in a space where I want to go move out in the county and act like the problem don't exist. So that's just how it is. So we're going to be off next Friday because Monny need a break. That's why he got his hair done, because he's going on a trip. But we'll be back the following Friday, and I think that is like the 27th or something.
This phone ain't ring all day now. It just won't stop.
So we'll be gone on the 22nd, and we'll be back on the 29th.
Yep.
Unless Monny
will be back that following Tuesday. Maybe we might do a show next week, but I don't know.
He could be somewhere on a date. He's not going on.
I'm gonna be on the beach. I believe. I'll bet you that next week.
So that's been another edition of the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Please tune in every Friday, except for next Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And don't forget to go to our website, www.bigexposedradioormedia.com, and check out our newer shows, our returning shows that happen throughout the week. And if you want a show, don't hesitate. info@bigexposedradio.com and say, Nate, I want a show. And then you'll get a show just like that. Anything else, definitely come on by the studio. We're here. We'll be moving in August. So come on by. I have a lot of sales. This Sunday, I'll be at the Black Mall. That's at the garage on Lexington and Charles.
Where you moving to?
You'll see when I get there.
Okay.
Can't hold this bitch down. But we'll be back on the 29th. So without further ado, have a nice day. Enjoy your weekend. Get out and get off your ass and vote. And leave them squeegee boys alone. Just say no thank you. And keep it moving. Or give them that change that you get that damn Dunkin' Donuts coffee at. Peace out, people.